Hi, folks. Welcome to the program all about cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center with my son Andrew, and we're located at 867 Church Street in the north end of New Bedford, just off of Exit 5 off of Route 140. Very easy to get to. And you're welcome to give a call to the show here. You can call us at 9960500, 9960500. We can talk about whatever's on your mind, car problem, what have you. The weather's been warming up. It almost feels like a tad of spring in the air. The days are getting longer. Speaking of which, and I've been rather negligent on talking about this, but sunrise was at 6:33 this morning. We gained 9 minutes from last Saturday morning. Sunset, the good news, sunset, 5:23. Certainly not summertime yet, but it's 5:23. We've gained almost an hour, over an hour. We gained 9 minutes from last Saturday. So this week, the tide of light is rushing back to the northern hemisphere. We've gained 18 minutes this week from last week. And so far, from the first day of winter, we've gained 1 hour and 41 minutes. So we are definitely on our way up. The days are getting longer. Happy days are almost here again, weather-wise. So things are improving. Low tide is just about now. It's going to be at 12:30. So if you're going to get some quahogs, now's the time to think about, well, it's actually, you should be out there already. Quahog. High tide will be at 6:19, which will be twilight, and the moonrise will be at 3:36. Yesterday it was quite nice, and it sets tomorrow morning at 5:03 in the morning. And it's actually been gorgeous night skies if you pay attention to what's happening around you instead of just watching TV or what have you, or the distractions of life. The skies at night have been gorgeous. All kinds of planets in the sky. A lot of things are happening, and they have been put up there for our entertainment. You got to remember, before radio, TV, books, and all that, there wasn't much else to do besides propagate and watch the skies. We've got a caller here. We'll take this caller. A very good afternoon to you, caller.
Ralphie.
Hey, Billy.
Yes, sir.
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going well.
So what's new?
Well, we've been working our butts off. We're a little short-handed this week, but praise the Lord, we've been busy. So,
yeah.
On we march, Billy. We have to go out and bring some more cars in. We've been, running out of certain cars.
Yeah.
So, have to get back in the game, I guess, as they say.
Yeah.
We've been selling a few of the Subarus we've got. They're nice little machines. They're reliable, good on gas, and they're all-wheel drive, so they're great in the snow and the rain.
Well, we got to get going on some of our little excursions there.
Yeah, I know. We haven't been on the road lately, have we?
Yeah, no.
This winter. Yeah, since the winter has clamped down, we haven't. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, it'll come, depending. We've been trucking in a lot of our stuff now, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We have truckers who just ship it in, and it makes it, and it just makes it, I won't say, it's just, we know the schedule's coming in, and actually makes it easier. But once in a while, like you and I, have to go on these missions.
Yeah.
Mostly deliveries, Billy.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of the people have been coming down and picking them up from out of town. Yeah. Yes, last Saturday, I had more people from the Boston market in the showroom than I did from the local market here.
Because your cars are cheaper than Boston.
Well, I guess, but I was amazed. I even said, well, we having a Boston day here today. It's just, and I'm not exaggerating. It was just, that's where, as they say, that's where the money is. So,
yeah.
And the prices here are definitely lower than what they're paying up there. That's for sure. And the cars are thoroughly checked out. So you're feeling well?
Oh, yeah, very good.
Good.
Yep.
So,
well, seeing nothing new, let's get right to business.
Okay. All right. You got something up your sleeve, Billy.
What company, truck company, that made trucks, was allowed to make trucks right through World War II? Civilian trucks.
Civilian trucks?
Yeah.
Wow.
Civilian trucks right through the Second World War.
Really?
Yep. And the government said, okay. Well, other companies had to make military vehicles. This company was allowed to keep making civilian trucks right through World War II.
It couldn't have been a big company.
Oh, yeah, it's a big company.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Really?
Yes, sir.
Gee, I didn't think they had much capacity. Well, they had to take care of the farmers and all that. I guess that's why, right?
Yeah.
And trucks could be used locally for hauling materials and doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, trucks were definitely work trucks. You didn't just cruise to work in your $50,000, Longhorn Ford.
Yeah, but they were allowed to make trucks for all kinds of businesses and whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I honestly don't know.
Okay.
It wasn't Ford or GM. I think they were all geared up for making all military.
Absolutely right. Yep.
I know that. They were
This is
building.
what's called the Rugged Red Diamond International.
Oh, Diamond International. Okay.
International could make it right through World War II.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yep.
So
KB3 series trucks.
What are they? Half, 3/4?
No, big ones.
Oh, you're talking like tractor trucks?
Box trucks and flatbed trucks.
All right, I'm thinking little trucks.
No.
Oh, you put me under the bus. You put me under the truck.
No, I did not. I told you they couldn't make it, and I told
Well, you say trucks, but that's a very
I told you that was
broad-based term. I'm thinking, like half-ton, 3/4 tons. You're into the 5-ton, 6-ton trucks.
Well, that's
and
the
beyond.
They were allowed to make, and I told you, it was regular trucks, and it was right through World War II.
Yeah, but you're talking like well, they needed commercial rigs to haul all the materials to the factories and things like that, right? So that makes sense.
Yeah, well,
they couldn't
that's what they were, though. I found this up, and I was surprised. That's what International was allowed to make civilian trucks right through World War II. They didn't make nothing for the military.
Huh. Yeah, well, that must have been under the management of all the factories back then, and to run for production, because some of them, like the Singer sewing machine, had to make, instead of making sewing machines, they made machine guns, and typewriters made machine guns, and all these companies were had to convert over, and understandably so. So yeah, it's interesting. So they still had to, at the time we had a lot of factories in this country, and we could support the war effort. And with the materials we had to build for the war, because the war is materials.
Imagine, of all the trucking companies in them, Ford, Dodge, GMC, all that, they had to make military. International was the only one that was allowed to make regular civilian trucks right through the whole war.
Yeah.
Making one for the war effort. How's that?
Yeah. Well, I guess when they managed it out, they figured they had to have a domestic supplier to haul the materials, to bring.
I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm giving you education.
Well, yeah, but
Come on.
You threw me under the truck. Well, I'm thinking little trucks. Shame on me, but I'm thinking. But you're talking bigger stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe they made small trucks, but what the quote says was they through World War II, they didn't make nothing for the military.
Yeah.
Civilian trucks. And I didn't think they made anything during the Second War for civilian. You know what I mean?
Well, I thought they built some military trucks, though.
International?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They might have been under contract for some, no?
I don't think they could make both of them at the same time.
No?
No, I don't think so. Well, anyway, that's the story on that one.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, here's another one.
Yeah.
In 1928.
1928.
Chrysler acquired Dodge, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, just before that, another company, Jewish company, merged with Dodge in 1924.
Wow.
Got an idea?
That merged with Dodge?
Yeah, it went into Dodge, yeah.
Another Jewish company?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's a very Jewish name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've forgotten. I know what you're talking about. I've read that. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I can dig the ditch fast enough to remember, but, oh, God. Didn't begin with a K, did it? No.
No.
No, I'm trying to remember.
A G.
A G, yeah.
Graham.
Grant?
Graham.
Graham? Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember. Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
and
they
20.
just before.
What year?
1924.
Wow.
And then Chrysler bought, but Chrysler didn't know what they were getting because they were getting the two together because they merged together. And of course, they bought them in 1928. Chrysler bought the Dodge and made the DeSoto and the Plymouth.
Huh. Interesting.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, it is. So, hold on a minute. Had to sneeze. I apologize. So they took over Grant.
Yep.
Well, Grant wasn't a big company, though. They made like a little four-door, well, not a little, but they built a four-door sedan.
Yeah, Graham, yep.
Graham, yeah.
But it was strange that, you know, in Chrysler, the way it was worded, Chrysler didn't know that they were getting 2 for 1 because Graham merged right into the Dodge brothers.
Oh, okay. So, but that was already, done five years or so before Dodge bought them.
Yeah.
The one, some of the cars I look at, the old Chryslers, like the old convertible they made in 1928 Roadster, beautiful cars. I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous cars. Works of art. I mean, they're not just, well, they're cars, but they're absolute works of art when you see them. The Americans were right up there, I think, beyond all the Europeans. Well, with notable exceptions like Bugatti and maybe the Rolls-Royce, Mercedes and all that did build 1 or 2 models. They were pretty nice.
But also Graham built some small trucks, too.
Yeah, Graham Motor Cars, huh?
Yep, they built some small trucks.
Well, they've been out of the game for a long time.
Yeah, around the Graham car, 39 or 40, I think.
Yeah, so they, I guess, well, the 20s was a settling of a lot of companies, and then the Depression really wiped out a lot of them.
Yep.
They took them right out. Took them right out of the business. Totally. They didn't make it past 33. A lot of them folded shop or merged. Like Duesenberg and others, they were severely weakened and went out. But it's like that with even today with computer companies, they merging and all that. And
yeah, right.
The Chinese will be doing the same thing with all the companies they have there, and the Japanese have had a lot of mergers over the years too.
Well, that was something.
Yeah. Now that was, you said Graham.
Graham.
Graham. Oh, okay. OM.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, I'm looking at here with Graham Motor Company was tied with, okay, so OM, okay. I thought it was AHAM.
No. GROHOM.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And they built cars and they built some small trucks. Well, them days trucks wasn't that really big, but not like today.
Right. This is, you're talking in the days before detergent motor oil even.
Right.
Right. You're going way back.
Yeah.
You're just going with straight oils.
Straight oils, straight axles, and all that.
Yeah, straight oils.
Right.
Low rev, long stroke engines.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of torque.
Yep.
No rev though.
Nope.
No rev.
Nope.
But
they were mostly for pulling power.
Yeah. Right.
Not speed. Well, how much speed could you have way back in them days? With the highways. There was no highways. Just probably dirt roads, gravel roads. Most of them.
Well, yeah. Back then, 45 miles an hour was screaming.
Oh yeah.
45 miles an hour was screaming. I mean, the Army Jeeps, 45 was like high end. I mean,
that's it.
They were 45. That was it. I mean, 50. You were ready to blow them up.
50, you blow them up or you turn it over.
Yeah.
Roll them over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50 miles an hour was really moving right along.
Since the Graham become a player in the turn of the centuries with commercial vehicles business starting in 1919. They were truck builders too, and then they converged to make some passenger cars into trucks.
What are they? Where were they based? Were they in the Detroit or are they like New York area? Or?
No.
Some of these companies were spread, Illinois, West Bend, Indiana. They were all over the place. I mean, they merged to Detroit because that turned to be the auto hub.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they come out of Detroit. The assembling with the depot and passage was moved from where the hell is this from now? Oh, they were moved to Detroit.
Huh.
Yep, to a assembling depot.
So they did end up in Detroit.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, a lot of companies started there and ended there.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers and machinists.
Well, see if you can look it up on your computer.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. I did do some research on Pratt and Whitney engines, which were mostly aircraft, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first ones to come out with a radial engine. I don't know if you're familiar with those radial engines. The Wasp, I think they came out with first in 1928, and it revolutionized aircraft engines at the time. They call it R1340 Wasp engine. So I've always had a fascination with radial engines. I don't know if you're familiar with those, Billy. They're air-cooled. They have oddball cylinders, oddball number of cylinders. And the machine work on them is unbelievable. When you see them, those old timers, the machine shop, and this is before computers,
Listen to this, Ralphie. Truck builders would divert away for car dealers to increase business while thinning out their used car inventory. The dealers would sell a customer on the idea of converting an old car into a truck.
Huh.
How's that one?
In what years?
1919.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah. Well, most of the machines then were, they had to be used for practical uses. There was very little pleasure driving, so to speak. It was
right. Yeah, there's no roads really
to work and to haul stuff, and during the 20s, making moonshine, hauling it, stuff like that.
Right.
But trucks took a.
Here's something: an option Warner high flex 4-speed takes a little getting used to. First and third gears are at the bottom of the pattern, while the second and fourth gears are at the top. Pound is Graham 208 cubic inch, and they were using Dodge cylinder, Dodge 6-cylinder.
So they bought the engine under contract.
Yeah.
This is before Chrysler took them over, though. Oh, Dodge took them over.
Yeah, Dodge took them over.
Before Dodge took them over, they were selling them components.
Yeah.
Kind of like AMC did. They were buying a lot.
Right. Yeah, they buy so much off of GM, so much off of Ford. Right. Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that AMC. Excuse me, I said GMC. AMC, or Rambler. Let's go back up. The Ramblers.
Yeah, right.
The Ramblers would contract and buy components off of Delco, off of Ford Fomoco, Ford parts, alternators, starters, things like that.
Motion brakes was Ford, and motion ignition was GM.
Right.
Yep.
Just like Checker Cab used to run
Exactly. They use Chevrolet engines.
Yeah, the old Checker Cabs that you see all the old movies, New York City.
Yep.
And those are highly prized now, and they're very much a collector vehicle.
I know they are.
Crazy money.
They were rugged vehicles.
Oh, my God. They were built like tanks.
Yes.
And the back seat on those things were phenomenal. Even the front seat, huh? The bench seat's beautiful. You could move a village. That's a Hillary Clinton car. You could move a village.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, because I used to see them run around the city here years ago.
Yeah.
And they just looked like they were rugged. You know what I mean? Just looking at them.
Oh, they were.
Compared to the old when they started using Plymouth and some of the Dodges and DeSotos. They didn't stand up as well as a Checker.
Oh, Billy, I'd say the fenders on those things are twice as thick as the average car. Right? And the bumpers, those big chrome bumpers they had?
Yes.
They were made to take some little tug and push here during New York downtown traffic hours. I mean, they could take a beating. And they kept running.
Doors, if you notice, their doors were very heavy.
Yeah.
Because it's slamming and open so many times,
Yeah. That's another one in the history of automobiles that's gone, huh?
Yes.
And Checker, you know who the Checker dealer was here in this greater New Bedford area?
That I don't know. You got me on that one. I really don't.
I wonder if anybody out there knows. I know where it was. I used to look at them all the time and admire those cars. The public could buy them. I mean, not too many did.
Well, I would think.
They weren't cheap, but they were extremely well made. Kind of like Jeeps were in a day.
Well, that's because, they made a vehicle that was going to last for a while.
Oh, my God.
As a taxi, because that's all they were taxis.
Well, yeah, but they were built rugged. It was kind of like buying a good tool for your tool shed. You know, a nice, well-made rake or hoe, something you could buy and keep for keep the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you didn't leave it out in the rain. And those vehicles were made to last for 20, 30 years.
Checker cab was selling down on Purchase Street.
Well, I don't know about that, fella. I don't know about that. On Purchase Street, I remember the Ford store was down there years ago.
Yeah, and there was Studebaker down there, and there's Hudson down there. They were all on that avenue of Purchase Street.
Okay.
That I remember. Ford, Studebaker, Hudson was all down on Purchase Street. Down on it's gone now, but when you passed, I would say, Kempton and Mill Street, where Albert used to be, going north, that way, right in there was Studebaker, and Hudson was down on Linden Street, and Checker was right in there, if I believe. If I'm right. I'm just trying to picture this in my mind now.
Yeah, well, I can't speak for that. That's a little before my time, but I do remember seeing it when I was going back a few years, a Checker dealer in this area. Maybe somebody out there recalls. I know some people know who are listening. But the Checker Motor Company was based in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, I know that, but I'm saying one of their dealers is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And it mostly manufactured pretty much all taxi cabs.
That's all they were.
Yeah, and it was...
Very seldom you see an ordinary person had it. Otherwise, it'd be all yellow cabs or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it says here it was started in 1922. Checkers were made the iconic American taxi, which was valued by taxi companies for its durability and heavy use. Special features included large rear seats and trunks. The company had trouble competing with fleet discounts offered by larger manufacturers, as well as the economies of scales in procuring components. The final model was produced. You know what year was the last one made?
I believe in the early 70s.
No, a little later.
Is that right?
Yeah. I 1982.
Oh.
Yep. And on January 16th, 2009, not that long ago, the company filed for Chapter 11 protection in bankruptcy court. So, unfortunately for Checker,
one more name gone by the boards.
That could come back, because they're going to allow the manufacturing of low production of classic cars, so long as they meet the current emission codes.
They are?
Yep. So you could build a retro 65 Mustang, let's say, or a GTO, so long as it meets the emission codes.
Well, I wonder what that's going to cost, huh?
Well, these will be toys for grown men and women that'll run probably, I'd say you're talking pretty much $75,000 and north. I would say for most of those cars. I mean, $75,000 today is really, for especially low production. I would say that's going to probably be the low end, if I had to guess, Bill. If you're making them in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to make them in China, maybe you save another $15,000, $20,000. But, that's. They're going to allow low production numbers. So I guess it's a loophole with all these new codes that are coming out with they're very restrictive.
Really getting tough.
Well, Obama passed a lot of rules here and on mileage, and it's going to change the auto industry as we know it. Plus, the software changes the computers. You realize now that you're going to go drive by certain transponders, and they'll know you went by at this time, kind of like your cell phone. Wherever you go where your cell phone logs into the tower, they know where you are.
Yeah.
Say what's going to happen with your car. All this
I think you're right, my man.
Yeah, all this new software. So if you say, where were you at 10 o'clock on Friday night?
I was down the street over there.
Yeah, say, no, you weren't. Your car was in Boston or whatever. I gave it to my friend. Yeah, right.
Yeah, somebody stole it.
Yeah. Well,
right.
All this is going to be like your cell phone, tracked.
Hey, Ralphie.
Yep.
All right.
All right, Billy,
Not
good to hear your voice.
Well, you're getting smart. You're starting to get an education here.
Well, the trucks,
I'm starting to get all over the place so I can give you an education and stump you.
Well, the truck stuff, I didn't know, though, that International was the only one allowed.
Yes, honest to God.
Build,
yep, you look it up, you see it, yep.
Yeah, International was the only. Now, I guess International, well, they're not really what they were either today.
Oh, no, but they were a pretty big company back in them days.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
You know?
Yeah. Now they're big on engines and making things. I forgot who. I don't know if International's owned by somebody now, though. I think it's just a label. But
Harvester, ain't it? International Harvester?
yeah, but they're held as by another company. I'd have to look it up. I can't recall all these mergers, and check into it.
Yep. And how about that one with Graham and Dodge merging, the two Jewish boys?
Yeah. Well, probably met at a bar mitzvah.
So, the way it was worded, that Walter P. Chrysler didn't realize he was getting 2 for 1.
Yeah. Well, Chrysler was definitely on top back then.
Oh, Chrysler was, sure.
Yeah, and they were ahead on technology, too. They come out with a lot of new
So
firsts.
they got a hell of a deal, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was consolidation going on, just like now, actually. You know, look what's happened during this last meltdown. You know, Chrysler is no longer an American company. It's owned by the Italians.
Yep.
And it's now based in the Netherlands. Corporate offices are in the Netherlands because of tax advantages in Europe. But it's an Italian-based or European-based company now. So that's before it was a German-based, too, before they spun it off back to Sebris. So on we go.
So the only American companies we have here really is Ford or GM, right?
Yeah, Ford.
I mean,
GM,
the headquarters is in this country.
I think Ford, though, would be the more iconic American brand because when everything melted down in 2008, they didn't go to the government for handouts to survive. The family, everybody basically co-signed everything they were owned on, all their assets. They co-signed and borrowed $22 billion to float the company, and they did it. General Motors went bust, and we the people bailed them out. And now they bring most of their money and factories over in China. They sell more cars there, so they're turning more into a Chinese company.
Oh, well.
They still have a presence here, but still, it's crazy.
Well, today than when I grew up, that's for sure.
Oh, it's a different world.
Because I knew there were so many cars, independents, and the big companies, and, you could tell them apart now. I stand in a corner, I don't know what I'm looking at. What does this come up the street? I don't know.
Yeah.
Foreign or domestic, who knows?
Yeah, well, it's a global market for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, it isn't like the old days. You go look at the back of the taillight, you knew what year it was.
Yes, it was. You're right.
Remember that?
Yes. It would say it right on it.
You go look at the lens. It would have the year of the lens, the make of the car, the year of the...
And they were glass.
A lot of them. Well, in the 60s, they started going to plastic on the rear.
Yeah.
But the front ends were glass, a lot of the headlamps, and, now they're all plastic.
You're right.
A lot of changes.
Well, all right, Robbie.
All right,
nice
Billy.
talking to you.
Good to hear your voice.
I'm going to have to Matt there today.
Yep, Matt's.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Billy?
All right. I'm just going to have to study some more.
Okay. I'll have to get you some books. You're going to need a computer, Billy.
No, I get plenty of help.
Yeah, you need a computer.
No. One thing, and I don't do anything with computers. You know that.
I know. But it would help you.
I get it off the top of my head if I remember. If I see something go by and I'll say, damn, now I know what that is. I'll get Ralph on that one.
Yeah. I think you'd like a computer.
All right.
See you later, Billy.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're back. Give us a call here, 996-0500. Remember, folks, we got a great selection of used automobiles. Andrew's at the showroom today with David, and it's a nice day. Kind of on the warmer side of the ledger compared to the beginning of this week. Last Sunday was quite cold, and Monday, I think it was around 0 or below 0. Right, Matt? Because it was like -3
when you cold.
Sunday morning. So if your old Tin Lizzie's starting to give you trouble, it's not worth patching it up going into springtime. You should come by and see us. We have a great selection of used cars, and we're always changing, bringing new cars in pretty much weekly. And you can see what we offer. We price our stuff mostly between $4,000 and $15,000 on cars. Trucks and sport utilities, we do stock up to $20,000 for inventory, because trucks and sport utilities tend to be considerably more money, especially the larger ones. But many of the cars we sell are between $4,000 and $10,000, with generally speaking low mileage, very clean. And we service them out, and if something goes wrong, we back you up. And we just don't play any games. You come in, it's up front, and all we ask is that you shop us and compare us, and to what's out there in the marketplace. We're not afraid of competition. We've been being competitive now since 1959. We've been at it in New Bedford, and you got to work hard today. It's especially these days where money's tight for a lot of folks. They're struggling to get by today. And it doesn't seem, people even with good jobs find themselves going negative very often at the end of the month when you get done paying your car insurances, your excise tax, your property tax bills, all your house insurance are just never ending. And your deductibles on your health plan that most of us have to cover now, and they're not just minor deductibles, they can be quite substantial for many people out there, myself included. So people look for value. And sometimes people are a little apprehensive of buying a car, especially a relatively inexpensive car priced, between $4,000 and $10,000, about buying a good one and buying, more troubles than or continuing the troubles of the old car that they had. But with us, that's not the case. The cars we service and sell, we go right through them, and the brakes are good. And if there's any engine lights, we correct it. Whatever it needs to put it back in shape, we thoroughly recondition these cars. Obviously, when someone trades a car in to a dealership, then if you go to your service facility and they say, hey, you need $800 or $1,000 or even $2,000 worth of repair work, some people say, oh, heck with it, I'm going to trade my car in. Well, when we get these cars, we go through them. We bring them back into shape, because obviously if you trade your car in, you're not going to spend all that money. You'll put it into the newer car. And so we know what to do. We recondition them. No different than you would if you bought a boat. And boats always need maintenance. When they're new, they need maintenance, let alone a year old, and then it begins for sure. But a used boat is in constant maintenance. Well, cars are not as bad, but they certainly need maintenance and reconditioning. And when we get the car in, we recondition them thoroughly. I had a gentleman yesterday, Larry, who plays steel guitar, and he asked me about a car I was showing him, and actually he came in on the radio first, but then he started talking about cars, and because he has an old car, an old Oldsmobile, and he says, well, do you clean these cars? I go, yeah, we clean them thoroughly. He says, are you sure? He says, they say that. I said, no, when you see this car, you won't recognize it when it's done. We thoroughly clean them. Ronnie does a great job. He's our reconditioner, and we mean that. We do go through the cars, and they look good, smell good, and they're ready to go, and all for a modest amount of money in today's marketplace. So you don't get whacked with writing a big fat sales tax check to the governor, and then you get whacked with a excise tax bill from the town or the city you live in. You have everything's kept in check, and you can get good, reliable, safe transportation for, well, in 9 out of 10 cases, outlast your payments, and you're ahead of the game. You'll have a positive cash flow, because transportation isn't cheap, so it pays to do business with people who, say what they're going to do and do it. And we stay on our mission, and we do that. So, I mean, it's tough. Our margins are tight because we put more money in our cars than a lot of the used car dealerships. That's a fact. That's not bragging. That's not a sales talk. We do it. Other places, they do as little as they have to do. That's a fact. And you've probably experienced it. But we do service our cars, we do recondition them, and we do put more money in our used cars, getting them ready, than most other dealers do, selling the same price point. And that's just reality. And you just have to shop around and talk to people, find out for yourself, if you haven't experienced it firsthand. So if you're in a market for good quality used cars, stop by and see myself or Andrew or my brother David. David's there helping out Andrew. And if we don't have it, we can get it. Sometimes it takes a week, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on your situation. That's the way to save a buck if you're looking for a specific car in a certain color range. And, depending on the availability, some cars are more prevalent than others. Other cars, you have to kind of hunt around and find the right car. Same goes for trucks as well. Like a shop bed, two-wheel drive truck is a regular cab. Is a pretty tight commodity right now, let's say. Regardless of the year. And we buy nice cars. We don't buy wrecks. We don't buy salvage titles. We buy clean cars. We don't buy frame damaged cars. It's one thing if a bumper or fender's replaced, okay, and it's done right, that's minor. But frame, totals, anything with a branded title, we don't get into, okay, generally speaking. And we check all the cars we buy. So, and that's the difference. That's the difference. And if you want something more money, you want a $35,000 Mercedes, fine. We bring them in for people all the time. Or a BMW or a Chevy Cadillac, whatever. So, and the newer cars, especially the Jeeps, are getting really pricey. All of them are. All the SUVs are up there in price. It's just the reality of the marketplace. So, but, and we also do quality service as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I did a little, I don't know if we got time to squeeze it in, Matt. You think we can? That little, I did an audio montage. Now, Matt, let me see. Matt, have you got this queued up pretty much like I've got it?
I think we got it.
Okay, because Matt, this is going to be, I can probably give you a little heads up here. You get this, what did I put for one? You get this up here for one, right? So you got everybody in order. This is kind of like I call, some of you might be familiar with a photo montage. Well, this is an audio montage. And we're going to play this here and just kind of give us an understanding of history and how basically politicians lie, which is nothing you don't know already, other than the most naive of people out there. But here we go. And maybe I'll interject in between a little bit. Here we go.
Yes, I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Perot. What will you do as president to open foreign markets to fair competition from American business and to stop unfair competition here at home from foreign countries so that we can bring jobs back to the United States?
That's right at the top of my agenda. We've shipped millions of jobs overseas, and we have a strange situation because we have a process in Washington where after you've served for a while, you cash in, become a foreign lobbyist, make $30,000 a month, then take a leave, work on presidential campaigns, make sure you got good contacts, and then go back out. Now, if you just want to get down to brass tacks, first thing you ought to do is get all these folks who've got these one-way trade agreements that we've negotiated over the years and say, fellas, we'll take the same deal we gave you. And they'll gridlock right at that point because, for example, we've got international competitors who simply could not unload their cars off the ships if they had to comply. You see, if it was a two-way street, just couldn't do it. We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element in making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south. So if the people send me to Washington, the first thing I'll do is study that 2,000-page agreement and make sure it's a two-way street. One last point here. I decided I was dumb and didn't understand it, so I called a who's who of the folks who've been around it. And I said, why won't everybody go south? They said, we'll be disruptive. I said, for how long? I finally got them up for 12 to 15 years. And I said, well, how does it stop being disruptive? And that is when their jobs come up from $1 an hour to $6 an hour and ours go down to $6 an hour, then it's leveled again. But in the meantime, you've wrecked the country with these kinds of deals. We've got to cut it out.
Thank you, Mr. Perot. I see that the...
Well, there you heard Ron Perot.
Turned out to be a defining moment for our nation. I spoke with one of the folks who was in the reception just a few moments ago who told me that he was in China watching the vote on international television when it was taken, and he said you would have had to be there to understand how important this was to the rest of the world. Not because of the terms of NAFTA, which basically is a trade agreement between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, but because it became a symbolic struggle for the spirit of our country and for how we would approach this very difficult and rapidly changing world, dealing with our own considerable challenges here at home. I believe we have made a decision now that will permit us to create an economic order in the world that will promote more growth, more equality, better preservation of the environment, and a greater possibility of world peace. We are on the verge of a global economic expansion that is sparked by the fact that the United States at this critical moment decided that we would compete, not retreat. In a few moments, I will sign the North American Free Trade Act into law. NAFTA will tear down trade barriers between our three nations. It will create the world's largest trade zone and create 200,000 jobs in this country by 1995 alone.
As a result, I have a very difficult message to deliver today. After a thorough evaluation of our manufacturing operations, it became clear that the best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico, center from Indianapolis as well. Relocating our operations to Monterey will allow us to maintain high levels of product quality at competitive prices and continue to serve the extremely price-sensitive marketplace. I want to be clear, this is strictly a business decision. And by no means a reflection of the performance of this facility or any individual within. It is important that you understand that there will be no impact on jobs today. In fact, the first transition would not take place until the middle of 2017. We expect the move to take place in phases over approximately 3 years as we ramp down our operations facility. We expect the transition to continue through 2019. This announcement is, of course, subject to discussions with our local union representatives. We will sit down with officials from the union in the coming days. Throughout the transition, we must remain committed.
I would build consensus, but consensus means you have to work hard, you have to cajole, you have to get them into the Oval Office and get them all together, and you have to make deals. Let me just tell you, I mentioned before, China, big Chinese company, bought the Chicago Exchange. Carrier is moving, and if you saw the people, because they have a video of the announcement that Carrier is moving to Mexico, okay? Well, I'll tell you what, I would go right now to Carrier, and I would say, I am going to work awfully hard. You're going to make air conditioners now in Mexico. You're going to get all of these 1,400 people that are being laid off. They're laid off. They were crying. It was a very sad situation. You're going to go to Mexico. You're going to make air conditioners in Mexico. You're going to put them across our border with no tax. I'm going to tell them right now, I am going to get consensus from Congress, and we're going to tax you when those air conditioners come. So stay where you are or build in the United States, because we are killing ourselves with trade pacts that are no good for us and no good for our workers. All right.
Well, there you heard it. A little bit of little vignette here about these trade negotiations with the TPP. The Clintons brought this in the first time, so don't forget to vote. Vote for Hillary. More of the same. Doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat. It's the game. They're on top. You know what they're worth now? They're worth several $100 million, right? These people are going to be thrown out of work in Cincinnati at the Carrier air conditioning. Those people were told that their jobs are going to Monterey Medico. So, see you later. Catch you after the news. Stay with us. Welcome back, folks, to the second hour of All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center with my son, Andrew. And, well, you're welcome to give us a call here at 996-0500. At the end of the last show, we played a little, a audio montage about, NAFTA. And then you heard the outcry from the people in Indianapolis at the Carrier factory, the Carrier air conditioner factory. They're if I'm not mistaken, the Carrier company are the ones who invented air conditioning in the 20s or teens, Mr. Carrier. So here they are moving to Medico. And so it goes. And then you hear how the Clinton had pushed and advocated for NAFTA, the North American Trade Alliance. And now we have none other than our own President, Comrade Obama, who is advocating and pushing for the TPP. See, these people are picked by the people who really run this country to push their agenda. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. To us, down at the street level, it's like a game, and you pick your team. You're the blue team or the red team, or if you're for the Patriots or if you're for the Dolphins. Doesn't matter. The game is already in. Okay, the fix is in, as they say. And the Clintons are worth hundreds of millions. And these people are probably in debt up to their eyeballs, especially when they get thrown out of work, when the factory goes south. So it's a tough game, and the people at the top, they run the show, and we're not in their league. So you just have to change your thinking, okay? You have to get out of this apathy that so many of us suffer from, okay? And, go forward here and make changes, okay? And it's just what I see happening out there. And you have to, if so many people are, you have to change your news sources, okay, than the normal diet, so to speak. It's like changing your food. If you go to all the fast food restaurants all the time, you're not going to be in very good health, physically and mentally, for that matter. Same goes for what you digest in hearing with your ears or eyes in the news. You have to increase your sources. Most people live in an electronic ghetto with very limited choices and resources, and that's why I do sell a side line of radios, to give people the opportunity to increase their choices, to get more stations, even go international and shortwave. Now, granted, shortwave isn't what it used to be, but nonetheless, you can have fun and listen to different countries. There are still a fair amount who broadcast. They're a little tough to get because shortwave is, that was the first internet, and it's certainly not as, the modern approach through fiber optics through the internet as it works now, where it's crystal clear. Shortwave can change with propagation. One day you get it, next day you don't, because, the sun, the earth, the electromagnetic fields, it changes the propagation out there, and all these things come into play. You certainly learn a little bit about science if you want to try to understand what takes place. But it's the only way to reach out. And also, if you don't have a computer and you have the attitude that you would like to learn, but you don't know how to do it, then you should make the effort. I'll help you if you're looking to buy a computer. I don't sell computers, but I can give you some advice or upgrade what you've got. And so long as you have internet access, if you live in an apartment or a house, and if you can share Wi-Fi with someone, pay them a few bucks to get you on cheap, that's the way to go. If you get into their router, and then you can get out and you can read newspapers in Germany, London, anywhere in the world. They're all in English, most of them, overwhelmingly. And you can listen to other news sources and radio stations, because they all stream through the internet from all over the world, and you will definitely increase your choices and knowledge of what's happening out there, and get a diversity of opinions, okay? Far, far greater than what we get fed in this country. It's basically kind of like going to all the restaurants around here. Everything's, prepared and pre-packed and frozen and salted and sugared out. Our news is no different in many aspects. It's all measured and prepared, and it's all fast news. You know, they'll tell you more about what's going on in Hollywood and Kim Kardashian than you're going to find out what's going on in Syria and other parts of the world. And when you hear, you know, a lot of Americans are really surprised sometimes when they go, like for instance, I was on one time on a cruise in the Caribbean, and it was a very large, it was a sailboat actually, and we had mostly some Germans and Dutch and some French on board, all European. Well, half the passengers were European until they picked us Americans up. And one of the passengers with me was a lady who happened to be from down to Cape Orleans, and she was watching the news, and we had to watch the English section of the news at a certain time would come on. They would tell you, hey, at 1800 hours, you know, the English service comes on, and after that it would be the Deutsch, and then, you know, after that the French. And so to take care of, it was satellite connected news, because out at sea, that was the only way to find out what was going on and get a signal as far as video. And she said, boy, the BBC World Service news is much more graphic than American news. It's, you know, because she saw, you know, dead bodies, wars going on, different things. That here, everything's sanitized. She was kind of like shocked a little bit. I said, well, that's the real world, my dear. That's the way it is. Over here, you get a sanitized version. You don't get the full picture sometimes. And she was kind of like surprised at it, because there was no American sources, just all European-based. Deutsche Welle news service in English, BBC World Service, which is a little different than their domestic TV service you see over here. These are the differences. These are the differences, and you just have to inform yourself. Okay, we're going to play a tune. We'll be right back. You can give us a call here, 9960-500. All About Cars with Ralph Medeiros will continue. If it queues up. What happened, Matt? Here we go. from, we haven't heard in a while. I've played him before, Great Speckled Bird by Mac Wiseman, with a steel guitar, a little different twist to what's happening out there in the music world. Well, let's see. Today I was running around this morning, and this week's been crazy. Ulysses has been on vacation due to the school week. His wife works in the school system, so he wanted a week off, and understandably so. So Tammy and I were involved in service. Tammy did a yeoman's job there in the service department, taking care of all the customers and plus the car get-readies that we had to do. You know, I was over picking up some supplies at Barassa's Hardware, and over to see those people on Cushion Avenue, picking up some lights and different things I needed, and I had to buy a new soldering iron, which I bought a new Weller gun. My other one had kind of just faded away. My last one was made in America. This one, unfortunately, was made close to America. It was made in Mexico, another product over the border. And if it's a matter of paying another $5 or $10, then I'd rather buy American, but I didn't have a choice. At least it was, it wasn't far from home anyway. It was in Mexico and not an Asian product, because everything's flooding in now from China and Vietnam and Thailand and all those countries. But and I was over there talking, and I showed him on his computer how to get some great music at Barassa's Hardware and how to log in and tune into some great classical music or the old jazz that I usually play on the radio here, and he and how to transmit it as well, and he enjoyed that. But I was thinking too when I left the store, and I thought about my store and his hardware store on Cushion Avenue, and I thought I was little, because I've been concerned about what's happened to the Lebanese Kitchen now is leaving and going to be in Medeiros. That was one of my favorite places to go in New Bedford. And unfortunately, he's not going to, and I don't know all the facts to the situation, but it's unfortunate that, small business people like myself and him and people at Barassa's Hardware, if something major happened to my store, or it certainly happened to the Lebanese Kitchen, and we had to rebuild to meet these new codes and laws, the little guys, you don't have a prayer in hell to get out and get it done. It's the system is so much against you, and I don't know if how much effort's put in to try to retain these people and keep them in a city. And yes, make compromises, because that's what the world's about. Or if the rules are so rigid and say, hey, this is it. If you don't have 25 parking places, take a hike, and that's all there is to it. But yet, an existing business grew up over the years and the decades, can continue until something major happens, or possibly a change of use, and then you're whacked with all these new rules, and these businesses are forced out to leave. And unfortunately, I guess in this case, that's what happened to him. As I said, I don't know all the facts, but it's unfortunate. I'll have to take a hike to Medeiros to enjoy his food. I think he was an asset to this community and the city, and unfortunately he will no longer be here. But give us a call here, 9960500, 9960500. We can talk about whatever's on your mind. Those of you who are computer literate or want to become more computer literate, one thing you should consider putting on your computer is this little FM transmitter. Easily hooked up. It's not rocket science. And what happens is this: it frees you from being in front of your computer, and you can stream audio books, music. So you could be anywhere. You can be, outside your house. If you have headphones, you could be cutting the grass, or you could be down in a cellar in a workshop working on something. You can stream music programs, whatever you're into. Okay, whether it's talk radio or music or audio books, doesn't matter. And you can send it out to every radio in your house, because basically you have your own little mini transmitter. Yes, you will be a radio station operator, a very small one, but nonetheless in your little sphere of influence, in your little world, you'll be able to take your computer and not have to be in front of it to listen to whether it's different talk stations or audio books or music. You can stream it to every radio in your house. So you could be taking a shower and singing with Caruso if you wanted. okay, or Mac Wiseman. Doesn't matter. Whatever your heart desires, you can stream it. Very simple to do. It's not rocket science, and I can show people how to do this. The transmitters are only $50. It's a bargain. Okay, it'll change your world as you know it and give you access to much more resources. Be that what it may, whether you're into international news, local news, doesn't matter. Or political speeches, doesn't matter. And you can play it out and listen to it. So that's another little advantage of, just for small money. And what you're going to pay on your cable bill, this will increase and watch, which is 90% useless. Most of these programs are just soma for your brain. Actually, they say when you sit in front of the TV, your brain waves change. And most people today are so disengaged and brain dead, and they just don't have a clue. It's a real tragedy. It's taken place in our society in the last 40 years. I mean, I look around and say, wow, look where we're at now. I mean, it just blows me away. And it doesn't bode well for the future if present trends continue at all levels, culturally and financially. Basically our country is broke unless they're going to tax everybody at 90%, which, I found it also amusing that they announced that the inflation rate is now, I should look it up here on my computer, but it's the highest rate than it's been in 5 years, Matt, I think they said. I forget what it was, but the inflation rate is now substantially higher than they thought it was. Isn't that interesting? All the best minds, all these graduates from these Ivy League schools that, work at these number crunching facilities in the government and in these think tanks who advise the government. But they didn't do that back in November or was it October when they announced that there would be no Social Security raise because inflation was too low. Gas prices had fallen. Like old people, gas is the main part of their expenditures, but that's the reason they gave you for justifying no increase. But now all of a sudden inflation is up. It's interesting how the game's played, isn't it? Not to mention, this inflation has eroded our dollar buying power. You have to think of it this way. When I was a younger fella, and I started dating my wife, and I'd come to the North End, and I was learning about the North End. I was a teenager, and I met some people in the apartment house, and this fellow worked Alden Corrugated, had a okay job, a union job, made a living. His wife stayed home, raised a family, worked at home. And he wasn't rich, he wasn't poor, but he could support his family and even have his wife stay at home, had a car. Like I said, he wasn't rich, he wasn't poor, he got by. His kids went to college, made it through, they worked hard. And today, you look, this inflation has created where 2 people have to work now, 3 people have to work, or if you got 2 people, they both have, well, nowadays you'll have 2 or 3 part-time jobs. I meet so many young people have 2, 3 part-time jobs just to try to make it. When you don't make anything in the country, we have problems, and we've sent all these jobs overseas. And I was reading an article, which I haven't fully read it, talking about the popsicle index. Okay, and that's another one. We'll get into that next week, though, when I have time to fully digest this little book that this lady wrote. Essentially, the popsicle index equates to whether you'd send your son or daughter down the street to get a popsicle or not in your neighborhood. And for most people and parents today, you probably wouldn't, because you'd be afraid if you have a youngster of 5, 7, 8, 10 years old. You'd be a little concerned about their safety. And the popsicle index has gone down as far as, equating to parent safety. And the stock market index has gone up. And there's a relationship there. You might think I'm crazy, but there's a relationship. As we've, sent all this capital overseas and our jobs, our communities have rotted, and the safety within them has gone down. I mean, you don't have to be a PhD to understand what's going on here, but you just have to get pissed off and start thinking about change. And I think they're a little bit worried about the people who run the system. They got to Perot. Remember Ross Perot? For those of you old enough to remember and still have a memory of things of such nature, when he dropped out suddenly. Well, essentially, it's been said, if you read some well-informed people with different opinions than the current mainstream, that they got to him. They got to him, and he dropped out. They got to him by either threatening him or threatening his loved ones, and he got out of the game, especially when he started going against the powers of NAFTA. Well, Trump is an interesting case because they haven't gotten to him yet, and he said things calling on the Bush family about the wars and about the Saudi relationship, and that's been not covered in the mainstream, but has lit up the alternate media about his comments that he had the Tanakas to say these things, and they haven't gotten to him yet, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because you know, this is almost kind of like a Greek, or going back to Roman times. They usually dispatch their political competition, if you will. And dispatch meaning sent on to the next dimension. Give us a call here at 9960500, 9960500. By the way, we have some super terrific deals on tires. I can put a set of tires on most smaller cars for under $300, like a Toyota or a little Honda, a set of new rubber, counting mounting, balancing, sales tax, disposal, for around $280. That's an outstanding value if your car, depending on the kind of car you're driving. But the more common, just little economy cars, you can get a very reasonable set of inexpensive tires. And if you just beep bop around town, it's certainly better to go that route than to buy some used tires that are potentially dry rotted, or you know, they shine them up to make them look good, but you know, for a few dollars more you buy new. Why would you buy used? Doesn't make sense on tires now. Tires, okay? I mean, you'd have, you know, it's kind of equated to buying somebody's used shoes. Not many people do that, okay? At least not in this country. Not yet. Not yet. We got some cheap Chinese shoes you can buy yet. Still pretty cheap. But in the old days, you'd re-heel your shoes and all that. They were leather. Today, you just throw them out because it's just not worth it with the, you know, these cheap shoes you have today. And but we do offer some fantastic deals on tires and trucks too. We have some great deals on trucks. We have a good quality tire we sell as the Falcon tires. We're a dealer for Falcon tires, and if you want a good quality tire and you don't want to, you know, it's probably the Falcon gives you the best quality for the buck without going into expensive brands like the Michelin or the Goodyears. The Falcon will give you a superior value for the dollar, and we sell a lot of those, and they're very highly rated, and people have been more than happy with them. They've been extremely satisfied. So if you want an upgrade over the low-end tires, the Falcon, which we're the dealers for in this area, would be a good alternative to consider if you you know, just have a nicer car, or you do a lot of highway and you want to have a little better tire on the ground. You know, tires vary in quality and durability, kind of like shoes do. You know, you buy especially guys, if you buy a cheap $30 shoe and you think it's going to hold up like a $150 shoe, it's not the case. All things being equal, the materials will be better on the more expensive shoe, and it'll be better constructed. Same goes for tires. They have to meet minimum safety standards, of course, but there are differences between brands, okay? But they do have to meet minimum safety for the most part. And tires are coming in from all over the world now. You know, they're from all over the world. They're out of India, they're out of Vietnam, they're out of China, of course. China's a huge producer. They did put a tariff on Chinese tires, though, to raise the price a little bit. I think they just re-implemented one recently, the end of last year, but not as much as it was earlier, a couple of years back. Other countries don't have those tariffs. Are coming in cheaper now, so production moves around the world where they get the best advantage. And well, if you got a job and you can buy these tires, they're cheap. If you're not working, well, then it doesn't make much difference, does it? If you can't afford them. But one thing we're offering still is our oil change and wiper blades for $35. You can get an oil change and a set of wiper blades plus tax and disposal, and it's an outstanding value. It's most places charge you just $35 plus taxes for an oil change. Here at Ralph's, you can get a set of wiper blades for most cars and an oil change, plus tax and disposal. So it's an outstanding value. We're still offering that. Our oil we use is semi-synthetic oil, and of course we put a new filter on. Okay, we don't use recycled oil. Someone asked me that a little bit back and said, well, I understand one of your competitors told me that you use recycled oil. I said, no, ma'am. They don't understand that. Yes, we recycle oil, but we don't use recycled oil. We use all new oil. It's all virgin petroleum product, and it's a semi-synthetic oil. So there's a lot of misstatements out there. But I guess they figured because the price was so low, our competitor thought that we were, using substandard materials. That's not the case. That's not the case. We always use quality materials, and we do a lot of restorative maintenance. If you come in, you have a problem, we'll try to patch you up in an intelligent way that keeps the car safe, but without wiping out your wallet. And that's what separates us from many repair facilities. We do what's necessary, period. And we'll advise you to try to keep your bill down, or if your friend or your daughter comes here for a service with us, we always try to take the most frugal approach to repairing the car safely and do it right. I mean, we don't want to do it twice, no more than you want to come back twice. So, but sometimes you go to some places and, if your wires are in good shape, they're going to still, and your plugs aren't, they're going to say, well, hey, I want to do the plugs, I'm going to do the wires. They replace everything. Sometimes the wires have plenty of life left. Why replace the wires? No need to spend another $80 if you don't have to. So those kind of decisions like that will advise you. Now, if you insist on us replacing them, fine, we'll follow your instructions. Everybody has different reasons for doing things. But generally speaking, we take a conservative approach to repairing your car and spending your money. And we advise you, in a professional manner. So look us up. We're at Church Street, 867 Church Street in North End of New Bedford, 867 Church Street. The number of the dealership is 998-1141, 998-1141. And there you have it. Okay. I don't know, Matt, do you have this fellow queued up on that? I got a little clip here to give equal time here to Bernie Sanders. There's a comedy made back in the day, if you will. I think that was back in 98, if I'm not mistaken. Right? 98? Yeah, 1990. Actually, September 25th of 98 to be right to the money. Right, correct. Here we go. It's only a couple minutes here.
I rise in opposition to the rule and in opposition to giving the President fast-track negotiating authority. Mr. Chairman, we have had 4 years to analyze the results of NAFTA, a trade deal negotiated under fast track. 4 years to watch our trade deficit skyrocket, workers' wages decline, and jobs leave the United States by the hundreds of thousands. From 1993 to 1997, under NAFTA, a $1.7 billion trade surplus with Mexico has been turned into a $14.5 billion trade deficit. We went from a surplus to a deficit. During the debate over NAFTA, the multinational corporations who told us how great this policy would be predicted that NAFTA would create 200,000 jobs by 1995. Instead, we lost 400,000 jobs by 1997. Further, NAFTA is being used as a corporate tool to threaten workers and to lower wages. According to a study done at Cornell University, 62% of corporations in America have used NAFTA or similar agreements to drive down wages and benefits. This Cornell study also found that U.S. companies use the threat of moving their companies to Mexico more frequently now than before NAFTA was enacted. These are some of the great results of NAFTA. Mr. Chairman, last year I went to Mexico, along with Mr. Banya and Mr. DeFazio, to see what was going on there in the wake of the NAFTA agreement. I saw with my own eyes the horrendous pollution caused by the maquiladora companies in the area, pollution which is hurting the Mexicans as well as Americans along the border. Let's vote this agreement down. Let's kill it.
There you have it, Bernie Sanders. I consider him like a Nosferatu, but I like his message on some issues. I don't like his policies and getting to the goals he wants to obtain. Caller, very good afternoon to you.
Hey, Ralph, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's good. Yeah, it's about the only time I've ever agreed with the burn.
The burn, yeah.
Are you going to have a full complement of employees next week?
Am I? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay. And is your son usually there on a Tuesday?
Afternoons. Wait a minute. Yes, afternoons he's back because in the morning he's on the road. But yes, Tuesday afternoon.
Okay.
Like probably 3 o'clock-ish or so would be safe. I don't know what your schedule's like, but.
Oh, okay. How about later in the week?
Yeah, he's Wednesday or Friday. Thursday's his day off.
Okay. Okay.
So you can call him and he'll meet you, or you guys can.
Yeah, no, I want to take a look at my car, see what he thinks it's worth, and then I want to talk to him about getting another one.
Yeah. Well, that's good to plan ahead. Yeah, that's wise on your part.
So yeah, okay.
And save a buck.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay, well.
Hearing Bernie on the phone there, it kind of took all the wind out of my sails.
Well, I mean, I his message on that one anyway, I agreed with.
Yes.
I think him. Isn't it interesting? You got Donald and him. They pretty much advocate the same thing. They just have a different way of attaining the goals.
Yeah.
I think we've got enough socialism now. We're living it. Okay.
Yeah.
So to put more of it, and I've been in communist and socialist countries. There isn't much difference. Although they call theirs democratic socialism.
Yeah. You can dress it up however you want. It's still the end result ends up being the same.
But right, and the fact is we're a republic, not a democracy. So
exactly, most people don't even know.
No, they don't understand.
No, they have no idea. They don't know what a democracy is or a republic.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's incredible the amount of money we spend on education, and the younger people today are so shallow of knowledge. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And I think we have to speak out and say, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming the teachers. I mean, they're told to teach a certain curriculum.
Exactly.
They don't have to say. It's like radio stations. A lot of these top 20, 40 stations, the hot stations you hear on FM, the DJ doesn't pick the music he wants to play. It's all pre-picked, and that's right.
Yeah.
And he can go say, hey, welcome to the party and all this, and he'll have a few words to say, but he can't deviate from the schedule of music, period.
No, he'll deviate once and that's it.
They'll fire his butt right out of there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the way it is on the FM side for the most part. Not exclusively, but I mean the major station, and the teachers are no different with their curriculum.
No.
So they're held accountable to that.
It's sad.
Well, we're in dire straits in this country. Anybody
yes, we are.
Who has a heartbeat and a little bit of blood flowing upstairs and just thinks, wakes up from amnesia and thinks a little bit and sees what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious, and I don't care what your political stripe is, left, right, center, indifferent.
Yep. I listen to one guy on the radio, his syndicated talk show, and he'll always say it's a shell game, and there's no P under any shell.
Yeah, well, that's...
and he's so right.
Well, with the Federal Reserve, it's true. I mean, you look under the Obama administration, Matt. We've doubled our current deficit, doubled it from Bush, and Bush did not do us any favors.
No,
at all.
No.
I mean, I have to tell you that.
He greased the skids so that we'd get Obama.
Yeah, 2 wars, and well, what happens is people get upset with Republicans, put a Democrat in.
Yeah.
But it's the same deal.
Yeah.
They buy both sides of the street.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, it's I don't know. It's I think we have to all become, in a phrase, we all have to be kind of, in a way, become part of the resistance, okay, to this system we have, and foster change.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, Bernie and Trump offer change. But I don't know if the system would allow these guys to get there.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, Obama offered change, and that's all I'm left with. It's some change,
Right. Well, I think it's getting harder to pacify the thinking masses.
Yeah.
The thinking masses. Now, they have so many people now who are wards of the state that because of they're getting stipends of every type, from A to Z. That, but these stipends are being marginalized with this ever-increasing inflation.
Yeah.
So they too probably will be in the streets in the not-too-distant future, protesting for more bread, if you will.
Yeah.
As their condition become more dire. And we're in for some harsh realities here.
It's true.
And throughout history, people say, "Oh, Ralph, you're kind of doom and gloom." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This is nothing new. You read back into history; this goes back centuries, millennia. And we think we're immune from this?
No.
I think not.
No.
I think not.
We make it sound better. We dress it up a little better when times are bad. But no, it's not looking good at all.
Well, it's almost just in time for another war.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's about it, basically. So watch this. Let's get the Russians pissed off with us and start something with the Russians. Right?
So far, he's pretty much ticked off everybody, our allies, and spying on our allies.
Well, that's a given. All countries do that. We're the master spies right now.
Yeah,
and they spy on us too.
It's just that when it becomes known, it's like I used to tell a friend of mine at work, we always knew the electric company was screwing us, but then when they separated the bill and charged us electric and then distribution, then it's in your face that they're you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
well, I'll tell you though, these new rules that they're proposing to reduce carbon. You're going to talk about electric rates. These are going to look like the good old days.
Yeah.
As they force down and retire a lot of these power plants and go to more expensive resource. Now, I could see a gradual transition, fine, to more efficient plants, especially, but you're going to, and the very people you're going to hurt of the people who can least afford to.
Exactly. They were going to shut down Pilgrim. They're going to shut down the plant near the Braga Bridge.
That one's, that's slated for 17 next year. Pilgrim, I had no issue. Pilgrim, to me, was a problem because if Pilgrim, after Fukushima Daiichi, and that was caused by a natural disaster with the tidal wave, right, the tsunami, and then it turned into a total. It's not a Japanese disaster. It's a global disaster for the people of the world.
Yeah.
They've polluted the Pacific Ocean with radiation, and you can look at the maps, the satellite maps. It's incredible. I'm surprised, if you put a can of tuna on your table, it doesn't glow at night if you shut the lights off. I mean, seriously, they don't talk about this and all the additional radiation. So much radiation went in the air that MIT's radiation receptors picked it up in Cambridge.
Imagine that.
Yeah. They picked up the isotope, and they could verify it came from Fukushima. Now, we didn't get the heavy doses as much as they did on the Pacific Ocean. But it's still it's it's still going on. I mean, it's not resolved they don't know how to resolve it.
No.
It's something that's, so it's, Pilgrim is the same design plant, the GE pressure vessel.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny though, you never hear of any problems like in France with their nuclear power plants.
Well,
I know they're all standardized out there.
Yeah, and France has, I think, 70-80% of the electricity is nuclear.
Yep.
But you know what? We'd be naive to think that they don't have problems.
Yeah.
Because the Russians have had disasters. We've had disasters. Look at not the Colorado. Is it the Colorado in Washington State that's polluted too? They have tanks that are leaking. Anything the government's involved in usually.
That's
They have where they used to let's see. I think it's up in Spokane area where they used to process plutonium way back. And they have an old aging plant there that's leaking in Colorado, and it's a disaster up there too. And in I think down in Kentucky and Tennessee they've had other issues too. Yeah. So I mean it's throughout the country, and the Russians had their issues too. And they polluted completely whole massive areas of their country.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's no easy answers, is there?
Yeah, it's.
But you know what? Innocent people pay.
Yeah, no, that's the problem.
You, me, regular people pay the price. You come down with, you wonder why you got thyroid cancer, or your wife has it, or lung cancer, and it's never in the family, but you just picked up that little molecule of plutonium that happened to embed in your lung, and it took you out. So these are some of the issues. And the the Japanese now are suffering much higher thyroid cancers for their children.
Yeah.
It's got some real disaster over there. It's not being discussed. You won't hear that in the mainstream news.
Oh, of course not. We don't hear much anyway.
No. They keep everybody. Everybody's brains are genetically modified in the news we get.
Yeah.
But they keep you on the next game that's coming up, the next lottery, or Tim Kardashian's new butt to show you where the new. It's always something to, and most people are in a constant entertainment mode.
Yeah.
It's
no, it's sad.
Sad. We're in dire straits.
Yeah. But as far as your son, maybe it'd be best if I just call to make sure he's going to be there.
Give Andrew a call. And you got the dealership number?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Give him a call. If he's inside, he'll answer. His extension is 1112.
1112?
Yeah. Okay. 1112. Leave him a voicemail if he doesn't pick up.
Yeah.
And
okay, Ralph.
We'll get together.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for the call. Bye-bye. Well, I have... I'm glad to hear that Pilgrim's shutting down. I went to a seminar last year down the Cape, and they were surprised I drove so far to go down there. They were out in Hyannis. I think the Democratic Committee put it on, actually. It was one of the people there. It was non-political, though, and they had speakers there, and it was a very informative meeting and about the problems, and mostly with Pilgrim. And then the similarities between Pilgrim and Fukushima, both are on the water. Both, of course, Fukushima had, I think, they have 5 or 6 reactors, much larger facility. This only has 1 reactor, but it's the same GE designed pressure vessel, and the same age. Basically, they're very, as far as plants go, they're on the elderly side, so they have issues with pipes leaking and things that are wearing out. Very good afternoon to you, caller. Hi, are you with us? Hello? No, I guess not. Are you there? No, I think we had a carrier. Okay. Give us a call back. We got disconnected. Maybe you're on a cell phone. So, a lot of changes in our society. You can either just see what's happening and wonder what's happening, or you can get involved. Read up, learn, and call your representatives. Try to hold them accountable. At least let them know that you know. Okay? And that kind of puts them on notice. I mean, it won't probably change them because they got other, influences and far more resources coming in from other sources that are going to influence them a lot more than your phone call or your email will. But, nonetheless, you have to let them know what's happening out there in the world. But, if you have a car problem, please look us up. We're on Church Street. We can help you. Or if you don't drive, you have a friend of yours who has a car problem, send them our way. Matt, we got lines lighting up here like Christmas trees. But maybe that's what I did. I messed that up. Okay. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hello.
Hi, you're on.
Comrade.
Comrade, hey. Hey, Bern.
What was the question you were discussing a few minutes ago about the power plants? I only got involved in part of the conversation.
Pilgrim is going to be shutting down, and I was talking about Fukushima Daiichi and the plants there. That's a disaster, not just a Japanese disaster, it's a global disaster. Look it up. Go to the Fukushima blog and read what the people in Japan are going through. And, of course, in this country, unless you have access to a computer, which I know you do, a lot of people don't, or they're just watching the latest game on the sports channel, and they're not paying attention to what's happening. Not that they have an interest.
The only thing I was going to interject is what people have to remember is if you do the math and you're losing a Pilgrim power plant and you're losing a Brayton Point plant. Yep. Brayton Point, you measure the output of electrical plants in megawatts. And Brayton Point produces 1,563 megawatts of power. It can power 1 million homes.
Yeah, that's a lot of power.
Yes. Over at Plymouth, they do 563 megawatts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you add the 2 plants together, you've got something over 2,000 megawatts of power production that you're going to lose in southern New England. All right?
Yeah, it's going to be an issue.
So all the green guys come along and say, we're going to replace it. Well, there were 2 studies by the ISO, which distributes power throughout New England, and one was in 2007 and one was in 2010, and there was a recent one issued last summer.
Yep.
there is no way that wind or solar can replace the grid because it's not steady enough. All right? And the other thing people have to remember is for every megawatt of power, if you're going to use solar, you use 5 acres of land. So, for example, there's a possible site in Dartmouth where a 6-megawatt facility can be located, and they're going to use about 33 acres of land. All right? So if you have to replace over 2,000 megawatts of power with solar, you would use more than 10,000 acres of land.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So where do you think you're going to get the land to do that? You can't. It's impossible. It's physically impossible. And the same goes for wind power. Wind power, you need approximately 4 acres per windmill, and windmills only generate about 1,500 kilowatts. So think about how many windmills you would need to replace 2,000 megawatts.
Yeah, now you start doing the math.
These radical environmentalists have to be careful for what they wish for. And if you go back to the Wall Street Journal last week, you're going to find an article about Venezuela, which is one of our favorite socialist countries to talk about.
Oh, that's a workers' paradise right now.
And you're going to see that they talked about in the journal that they're rationing electricity to shopping centers and malls.
Yeah.
Now, for all you wonderful millennials out there who use your phones for everything from talking to other things, if you start getting rationing of power because we don't have enough plants producing enough electricity, then let's see how good you are on your phones and your computers, because there's just not going to be power. You're going to turn a light on at night, you won't get it because it's not your turn to be rationed. And if we're not careful, that's where we're headed.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be like the Eastern Bloc countries in Russia when they were controlled by the Russians. The gas would come on at 4 in the morning, and it was on for 2 hours, and they'd shut it off.
That's right.
Yep.
So, I mean, these people are not thinking ahead because they don't know enough about the facts, in my opinion.
Well, I'm a little concerned about Brighton. I think Brighton should be given a license to continue until they can either... and that plant, they spent $500 million upgrading already.
No, they spent $1 billion in Brighton.
$1 billion? Unbelievable. $1 billion. And all those cooling towers and everything, right?
Right. And then the town of Somerset wonders what they're going to do with Brayton Point. The answer to that question is probably nothing, because the entire point, almost 90% of the point, is in a flood zone.
Well, under these rules now, yeah. Yeah, they'll probably turn into a bird sanctuary.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And the taxes will quadruple in the town.
So anyway, I just wanted to put the facts up on the screen.
Very good.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Give us a call here. We've got a few minutes left. We had some callers. You can give us a call back that hung up. We can talk about in the remaining minutes of what's we got left here. But a lot of issues on the table. Inform yourself. If you don't have a computer, seriously consider getting one. If yours is old and tired and you're still on Windows 2000 or what have you, upgrade. It's education. Keep educating yourself. Keep learning. And, hey, we agree to disagree, but at least come to the party with some knowledge and increase your horizons, okay? We don't change our culture soon in our country. We're going to have well, you can already see we have a very different country right now. It's very obvious what's happening out there. So, caller, very good afternoon to you.
Yes, hello.
Hi,
Ralph.
Hi.
Yeah, much as I'd like to think of a guy like Bernie Sanders as someone to vote for, I'm just not so sure. We got a lot of problems. Of course we do. Everybody's got a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's
but we have sort of, our way is still, in a way, a little bit more unique than European or Japanese or Oriental ways of dealing with things. We don't, we look like we're controlled and everything is totally corrupt. But it isn't as totally corrupt as, the former Soviet Union. That's a great idea. The party bosses will run things and everybody will be fair. But nobody's fair. All these high-placed apparatchiks rip off everybody, We don't have it quite like that. We've got our captains of industry who do something of that. But still, we always had a right to fire out at them and to say, hey, you're screwing us.
Well, I think the dynamics are different, though.
It's different.
I do think we have.
I've never really been overseas. You say you've been in socialist countries, say Sweden. Is that?
No, communist. I've been behind the Iron Curtain. I've been in communist countries.
Well, as it is now.
Yeah.
And they're doing all right
prior.
They sell a lot of oil. They got oil in all those, the underbelly midsection of there, the Kazakhstans and all those places.
Well, they're loaded with oil. Yeah.
They got a lot of oil.
Those are former Soviet.
As we should. We help them figure out how to get at it.
Former Soviet republics. But I do think there's a cabal of transnational corporations.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And banking who have a lot of influence. Got to let you go.
Well, okay. Headed by, what's that?
Wow, there's different.
Bechtel runs everything. Well, I don't know, Ralph. Cheer up.
Yeah. I'm cheered up. I'm enjoying life and just observing what's going on. Thank you, folks, for listening. Catch you next week, God willing. Be safe. Get informed.